I actually got fired, and it had a lot to do with tattooing. My name is Daniel Rocha. I am originally from Las Vegas. I was born and raised here, and this is my hometown. I've been tattooing since '07. That was the first time I ordered my first machine online. I did my first tattoo on my leg, on my thigh, then I did another one on the other side, and I did one on my calf. It was a good learning experience, you know? I had no clue what I was doing at the time, but if I was gonna mess somebody up, it was gonna be myself first. Yeah. My tattoo style. Right now, I'm currently focusing on large-scale realism, which is like back pieces and sleeves. With the subject matter, it's anything from realism to surrealism to, statue work, portrait work. I also enjoy doing like classical paintings and stuff like that. So it's pretty much anything along the realism line. Something that people might not know about me. I had a regular job before I was tattooing. I used to be a plumber, so I can really appreciate the long hours that I have as an artist versus having long hours doing a labor job.
What made you decide to leave that job?
I actually got fired, and it had a lot to do with tattooing. This was around like this was in '07, but the '08 recession was already happening. It was already starting. So the company that I was with was getting slower and slower and slower, and I was the type of person that never took time off. I didn't take sick pay, I didn't take vacation pay, so I collected all of that. So when it started getting slower, I started using that time that I had saved up. And when we had a meeting for all the technicians with one of the owners of the company, he was apologizing about how slow it was. And me not really understanding, how business works and how things are. I raised my hand. I was like, you know what? Right now I'm tattooing on the side, so I'm making really good money. And I saved up a lot of sick pay and vacation. So I can take that and then you can give my hours to everybody else. Well, the owner of the company didn't like that. And the next morning I went to go to my vehicle and it was gone. Yeah, so I got fired because of that comment, not knowing that the company was hurting, and they couldn't afford to pay out sick pay and vacation pay because there was no money coming in, and I'm verbally telling them that that's what I'm gonna do.
What would surprise people most about being a tattoo artist?
I feel like being an artist is, romantic. It's an idea that, there's no stress and all this stuff, and yes, it can be that, but if you are trying to make a career out of it, feed your family and stuff, it's not as easy. So being a starving artist is a real thing.
Was there ever a moment you almost quit?
Years ago, before I really understood how to delegate in a way, in my current situation, I tried to do everything myself. So I was tattooing long hours, I was doing my consultations, I was answering emails, doing the socials. I was just doing every aspect of it all by myself. And after a while of working, 5 days a week, full days, and trying to do everything else, it became overwhelming. And there was a burnout stage. But instead of wanting to quit, I realized that I needed to do something about it and get some help.
Finish the sentence. Tattooing saved me because
it took me around the world, and it provided provided an amazing life for my family. And I love every day of what I do, and it's one of those things where, when you love what you do, you're never working a day in your life.
What's a belief you have that goes against the norm in this industry?
That it's someone else's fault why I can't make it. A lot of people in our industry blame outside forces like algorithms and other things of that nature, knowing that it's something that I can control.
How did you first fall in love with tattooing?
Oh man, I've always been into art. I have always been wanting to be able to create something with my hands. So before I was tattooing, I was into the car scene, lowrider scene, and I used to try to create things. I used to do engraving. I would engrave like metal parts of the engine or the suspension. I learned how to pinstripe, I learned how to paint, I learned how to weld. So I always thought I was gonna get into something that had something to do with cars, but the moment I discovered tattooing, it just kind of consumed me and just took over, and it was like an obsession, you know.
What was that moment when you started tattooing or decided to give it a try? What brought up the idea?
I had people in my ear telling me I should try tattooing, you know, and it was like I always kind of like pushed against it, you know. It was like, nah, you know, it's not for me. But that moment, the moment that I actually want to go get tattooed, I went online back in '07, bought a machine. My neighbor found out that I was tattooing, and then it kind of like snowballed, and then the other neighbors found out, and then it was like one of those situations where it's like I had no idea that people were into this, you know, and I enjoyed creating, and it just felt right, you know. And so I ended up getting into a shop and started apprenticing, and one thing led to another, and now I own a studio and I have a pretty good sized crew and a really good support team, and it's just been a blessing.
Who was the first person that really believed in your work?
Ooh, I had a neighbor, his name was Coco. Man, he was at my house like every other day. We were tattooing him probably 3-4 times a week, you know, and that lasted for, I don't know, a good 6 months, you know, before we ended up moving. But yeah, it was no questions asked, you know, instant, you know, like trust. So it was a good feeling, you know, like I didn't really give him a reason to trust me other than the fact that I had a machine. So it was a little weird.
What was your lowest point in this journey and how did you bounce back?
I would have to say probably when it came time to getting signed off. My first apprenticeship didn't work out the way I wanted it to, you know. I was a full-time plumber, I was working a crazy amount of overtime, and it was very difficult for me to commit the amount of time that I needed to commit for the first shop to actually apprentice me like all the way through. So they ended up dropping me, but that was a good lesson, you know. I learned, and I ended up getting a second apprenticeship, but by the time I got that second apprenticeship, you know, I had already left my job, and I was committed, and I wasn't gonna let that happen again.
What does it mean to you when someone wears your art forever?
Oh man, that's one of those situations where sometimes I forget how much weight that holds, you know, you know how much it means to people. Like with me, the standards that I hold myself up to, you know, I'm gonna give 110% always with what I do. So sometimes I take that aspect for granted, but then once I start talking with my clients and I start realizing what it means to them and how I was able to bring something out, you know, like their true identity, you know, and how they want to be seen to the world. It's a good feeling, you know, especially knowing that some of my clients have been getting tattooed for over a decade, and a large portion of my clients are all repeat clients, you know, we finished a project and now we're starting a new one. So it's a great feeling, you know, and I'm grateful that I get to spend time with these clients that really value what I do, and I really appreciate all of them.
How do you stay inspired when you're drained or burnt out?
I try to rest. Sometimes, you know, when you are giving 110% always and you're working crazy amount of hours, sometimes you just need to balance that with some quietness, you know, and clear your mind. And eventually, you know, once you've recovered, you know, you get good sleep, be on a good diet, you know, just try not to OD on dopamine, basically. You know, like social media can definitely pull you in there for hours and deplete you, you know, so just trying to fast from excitement.
What makes a client experience unforgettable for you?
Oh man, when they love it, when they're sharing the work, they're introducing what we do here at the studio to their friends, their family, and then next thing you know, they come in with their wives, they come in with their cousins, they come in with their brothers, and I have so many clients that bring family members, you know, and then they bring their kids, you know, because we have to be the shop that does it, you know, in their eyes, and it just feels amazing, to be honest with you, that we were able to build up that much trust with them, and it means that much to them, you know, so it's an amazing feeling.
How do you make people feel safe and comfortable in the chair?
They want to feel like they're going to get their value's worth, you know, at the end. And by being consistent with how we post, that gives them a little bit of peace of mind. But then once they're in here and they experience what we have to offer, not only what I'm doing for them, but what the rest of the staff is doing for them as well, it's going to exceed their expectations, you know. How many people go out and get them dinner or lunch, or, you know, and, you know, who's giving them free aftercare, and who's taking care of them, you know, calling them by name and getting them coffee, getting them snacks and drinks and stuff, you know, like, it's a different experience.
Yeah. If someone books with you, what should they expect?
Something to expect when working with me. My minimum is basically a full panel. It's a full sleeve, or, you know, like a back piece or something of that nature, maybe a full neck and a head or something, you know. So those are my minimums. It has to be a major project. I'm not reworking things, I'm not doing cover-ups and stuff of that nature. And, you know, like with the demand that I have and the amount of people that want to get tattooed by me, I would like to focus on things that can help push my boundaries, as well as be able to help give people what they're asking for. So right now, what I'm really wanting to do is to have a consultation with the client, you know, possibly a day or a couple days before, for some of these bigger projects. We can get the concept together. I like to design with my client there present, so that we can ensure that we are properly aligned and we're putting together something that they actually want. Because if I put something together that I want, but the client doesn't like it, I'm not feeling very confident tattooing it, you know? So the client has to be 100% on board for me to want to tattoo it. And then once we get to that point, sorry. Yeah, once we get to that point, that the client is 100%, you know, a go with the project, I'm all for it, you know, and I'll give my 110% every single time. So that's something that they can expect, you know, that it's going to be a collaboration, and it's going to be the type of collaboration that they're going to want.
What's your favorite music to tattoo to?
Oh man, that's tough, you know, because, you know, like sometimes I don't really listen to music. Sometimes I'm listening to audiobooks if I have my headphones on, but usually the only time I wear my headphones is if a client is wearing their headphones. But if we're listening to music and I had to choose, right now, I've been listening to a lot of classic rock. I'll listen to some classic hip hop. I'll listen to a little bit of underground music, and even classical music. Sometimes, like if I really need to focus, I'll throw some classical music on my headphones, or even soundtracks of movies, like some Hans Zimmer, you know. And yeah, I don't know. It's like a roller coaster of emotions when I'm tattooing. You know, it just gets me excited.
What's the weirdest request you've gotten?
The weirdest request? I would say the weirdest request that I got was to tattoo a bat wing coming off of like the lower stomach up around and ending kind of by the asshole. I did it. Not because it was like something that I wanted to do, but the artist that had tattooed her previously got a little, you know, he kind of crossed the line, and the shop owner had asked me to finish it. So I think that was probably the weirdest one that I had.
If you weren't a tattoo artist, what would you be doing?
Man, if I wasn't a tattoo artist, I don't even know. I'd probably be stressed, working still a plumber. I would probably own the plumbing company. I don't know, I've always been business minded, even as a little kid. You know, I used to set up shop, you know, and sell trading cards and snacks and model cars and all types of things to all my friends and stuff. So I probably would have got more into management and possibly into, you know, maybe running my own business.
If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Invest in yourself sooner. You know, investing in yourself is probably the best thing you can do. instead of spending your money on bullshit, you know, investing into your own education, investing into your own curiosity, into your own, anything to better yourself, you know. I wish I would have started sooner. Like, I've always invested in myself when I was younger, but there was a balance of investing in myself and just having fun and just blowing money on whatever. So I think I would have told myself something like that.
When a client sees their tattoo finished, what do you feel inside?
Oh, when they see their tattoos finished, I feel a little sad, you know, because the project's done, but then I get happy when they rebook another sleeve, you know, and then there we go again, you know. I really do enjoy my clients, you know. We always have amazing conversations, you know. We do have a lot in common because a lot of my clients, you know, either they're owning businesses or they're traveling, you know, or they're into investing, or there's something that we have in common, and it's nice. So it's almost like I don't want to see them go. I want to see them still coming around, you know. So there's a little bit of sadness, and there's some gratefulness when they rebook.
What's next for you in this journey?
What's next for me? Oh man, I like to take one step at a time, you know, because like there's a lot of aspiration that I have for this industry, but I do know that to achieve it, you know, I don't want to get overwhelmed, so I need to take each step one at a time. And right now, it's more or less focusing on this studio and helping our guys to navigate some of these tougher times in our industry and help them succeed, you know, and by helping them, you know, we're gonna succeed here at the studio. So I think that's the #1 priority at the moment, you know, is to focus on everybody that we have here.
Any last words?
Nah, man, this has been a blessing, you know. I'm grateful for everything, and dude, it's been fun, and I'm still enjoying this, you know. I'm still excited since like day one, you know. It's a very similar feeling, you know. It's just, you know, I'm a little smarter now when it comes to certain things. I'm more experienced when it comes to understanding our industry, and it's still very exciting. I'm not afraid. I'm not trying to run away from anything. I'm ready to run towards everything. So.